Hello, friends. Today's journey takes us on an ambitious double haul across Europe, covering over 2,800 kilometers through 5 countries. It's the kind of work that defines long-distance freight transport, complex routing, varied cargo, and the challenge of maintaining efficiency across changing road systems and terrain. We're driving the same Scania R500 we used on our previous runs. The truck has proven itself reliable, and tonight it faces another test of its capabilities. 2 very different loads await us, each with its own requirements and destinations. Our first journey begins in Liverpool, the great port city on England's northwest coast. We're carrying 12 tons of specialized cargo, 2 rough terrain forklifts bound for a construction project in Vienna, Austria. These aren't ordinary forklifts. They're rugged machines built for outdoor work on uneven ground, destined for a major development in Austria's capital. The route to Vienna is substantial. From Liverpool, we'll drive south through England to Dover, cross the English Channel by ferry to Calais, then traverse northern France into Belgium. From Liège, we continue east through Germany and finally south into Austria, arriving in Vienna after 1,780 kilometers. But Vienna isn't our final stop. After delivering the forklifts, we'll hook up to a trailer loaded with 18 tons of packaged motor oil. This cargo heads northwest back through Austria and Germany to Osnabruck, a historic city in Lower Saxony. Another 1,026 kilometers to complete the circuit. It's a long day's work, spanning 2 distinct legs with different cargo and routes. The Scania is built for exactly this kind of operation. Let's begin. The Scania R500 we're driving tonight is the same tractor unit from our previous hauls. 500 horsepower from the 13-liter diesel engine, 12-speed Opticruise automated transmission, and the 6-to-2 axle configuration that balances load capacity with fuel efficiency. This is a normal day cab, not a sleeper. For tonight's work, that's appropriate. While the total distance is substantial, we're completing 2 distinct legs with a break between them in Vienna. The day cab keeps weight down, maximizes payload, and costs less to purchase and maintain than a sleeper-equipped truck. The Scania has proven itself on our recent runs. The engine pulls strongly across its rev range. The transmission shifts smoothly through thousands of gear changes, and the cab remains comfortable despite long hours on the road. Tonight's varied route will test the truck across different conditions: British motorways, the Channel crossing, French and Belgian highways, German autobahns, and Austrian mountain roads. One advantage of using the same truck for multiple runs is familiarity. The controls are exactly where we expect them. The seat is already adjusted to our preference. We know the truck's characteristics, its power delivery, how it handles in curves, how the brakes respond. This familiarity breeds efficiency and confidence. The 6-car 2 configuration serves us well with tonight's loads. The middle tag axle can be raised when running light or carrying moderate weight, then lowered to distribute heavier loads across more wheels. The dual wheels on the drive axle provide traction in varied conditions. Scania's modular design philosophy means this truck shares components with thousands of others across Europe. If something needs attention, parts are available, and mechanics familiar with Scania systems can be found in every major city along our route. This reliability and support network is crucial for international freight operations. Today, the Scania carries us and our cargo across a significant portion of Europe. From England to Austria to Germany, the truck adapts to each country's roads and traffic patterns, maintaining our schedule and delivering its loads safely. It's what the truck was designed to do, and it does it well. Secured on our trailer tonight are 2 rough terrain forklifts, specialized pieces of construction equipment built for outdoor work in challenging conditions. Each forklift weighs approximately 6 tons, giving us a total cargo weight of 12 tons. These aren't the compact electric forklifts you might see in a warehouse. They're substantial machines designed for construction sites, lumber yards, and other environments where standard equipment simply won't work. Rough terrain forklifts belong to what OSHA classifies as Class 7 industrial trucks. The classification exists specifically for forklifts intended to operate on unimproved natural terrain and disturbed ground typical of construction sites. The distinction is important because these machines face conditions that would damage or immobilize standard warehouse forklifts. The most obvious difference is the tires. Rough terrain forklifts use large pneumatic tires with aggressive treads, similar to those found on tractors or construction equipment. These tires are typically filled with air and feature deep, chunky tread patterns that grip loose dirt, gravel, mud, and uneven surfaces. The tread design often includes chevron or block patterns that dig into the ground, preventing slippage. Tire size matters significantly. Larger tires spread the machine's weight over a greater surface area, reducing ground pressure and preventing the forklift from sinking into soft surfaces like sand, mud, or turf. The tires are also heavily reinforced to resist punctures from rocks, debris, and sharp objects commonly found on construction sites. Ground clearance is another key feature. Standard warehouse forklifts sit low to the ground for stability on smooth concrete floors. Rough terrain forklifts have much higher ground clearance, allowing them to traverse uneven surfaces without the undercarriage scraping or getting stuck on obstacles. This clearance is essential for navigating construction sites with rutted ground, scattered materials, and general debris. Most rough terrain forklifts feature all-wheel drive or at minimum front-wheel drive. The additional traction is crucial for climbing grades, moving through soft ground, or operating in wet conditions. Two-wheel drive might suffice in a warehouse, but outdoor environments demand more capability. Engine power is substantial. These machines typically use diesel engines producing between 50 and 100 horsepower, depending on the model's size and intended application. Diesel provides the torque needed for heavy lifting and the reliability required for outdoor work in various weather conditions. The engines are designed to run all day in dusty, dirty environments that would overwhelm less robust systems. Lift capacity varies widely across rough terrain forklift models. Smaller units might lift 2,000 to 3,000 pounds, suitable for moving building materials or equipment around a site. Larger models can handle 10,000 pounds or more, lifting steel beams, concrete blocks, or heavy machinery. Our 2 forklifts tonight are likely mid-range models, capable of lifting 5,000 to 6,000 pounds each, given their 6-ton weight. Lift heights also vary considerably. Straight mast forklifts lift loads vertically using a mast assembly at the front of the machine. The mast consists of rails and chains that raise and lower the forks. Single-stage masts are simplest, with 2 rails and limited height. 2-stage masts add another set of rails, allowing greater lift while maintaining lower overall height when collapsed. 3-stage and 4-stage masts provide even greater reach, useful for stacking materials or loading onto elevated platforms. Depending on mast configuration, straight mast, rough terrain, forklifts might reach 15 to 25 feet. This is sufficient for many construction tasks: stacking materials, loading onto trucks, placing items on second-floor levels of structures under construction. The vertical lift is simple and reliable, making these machines popular for general construction use. Variable reach or telescopic boom forklifts offer more flexibility. These machines feature a boom that extends both up and out, similar to a crane or telehandler. The boom can reach 30, 40, or even 50 feet in some models, and can extend horizontally over obstacles. This capability is valuable when you need to place loads over barriers, onto upper floors without direct access, or into areas the machine itself cannot enter. The boom typically pivots at its base, allowing it to tilt up and down. Extension is hydraulic, with the boom telescoping outward smoothly under operator control. At the boom's end, the forks or other attachments can be leveled automatically, keeping loads stable even as the boom angle changes. This sophistication makes variable reach models more expensive, but also more versatile. Major manufacturers of rough terrain forklifts include companies like JCB, Manitou, Caterpillar, JLG, and Genie. Each offers various models sized for different applications. JCB, the British equipment manufacturer, is particularly well known for telehandlers used extensively in construction. Manitou, a French company, offers a wide range of rough terrain material handling equipment. These machines are built robustly, designed for years of hard use in demanding conditions. Safety features are critical given the nature of construction work. Rollover protection structures, or ROPS, are standard, providing a protective cage around the operator. Falling object protection, or FOPS, shields the operator from debris or materials falling from above. Seatbelts keep operators secured. Warning lights and backup alarms alert nearby workers to the machine's presence and movements. Modern rough terrain forklifts often include sophisticated electronics. Load moment indicators prevent operators from attempting lifts beyond the machine's safe capacity. Automatic leveling systems keep loads stable. Joystick controls replace older lever systems, providing precise command over all functions. Some machines even include telematics systems that monitor performance, track maintenance needs, and allow fleet managers to optimize equipment usage. The cab and operator area are designed for outdoor use. Many rough terrain forklifts feature enclosed cabs with heating and air conditioning, protecting operators from weather while maintaining year-round productivity. Even open cab models typically include rollover protection structures and falling object guards, essential safety features given the nature of construction work. visibility is critical. The cab position and window design maximize the operator's view of the load, the forks, and the surrounding area. Working on cluttered construction sites with other equipment, vehicles, and workers moving about requires constant awareness. Blind spots are minimized through careful cab design. The frames of these machines are massively overbuilt compared to indoor forklifts. They must withstand constant vibration, impacts from rough ground, occasional collisions with obstacles, and the general abuse of construction site operations. Many are constructed from heavy-gauge steel or incorporate composite materials and galvanized steel components to resist corrosion from moisture exposure. Maintenance requirements differ from warehouse forklifts. Dust and debris management is crucial. Air filters need regular cleaning or replacement to prevent engine damage. Radiators must be kept clear to maintain cooling efficiency. The rugged operating conditions create more wear on components, demanding more frequent inspections and preventive maintenance. Applications for rough terrain forklifts extend beyond construction. Lumber yards and timber operations use them extensively to handle logs, dimensional lumber, and sheet products across uneven outdoor yards. The machines can navigate sawdust, wood chips, and rough ground while moving heavy timber products that would be impossible to handle manually. Agricultural operations deploy rough terrain forklifts for moving hay bales, feed, equipment, and other materials across fields and farmyards. The machines can work in conditions that would bog down standard forklifts: soft dirt after rain, uneven pastures, rough farm roads. Large agricultural operations increasingly rely on this equipment to maintain efficiency. The forklifts we're transporting tonight are heading to Vienna for a specific construction project. Austria's capital is experiencing significant development with new buildings, infrastructure improvements, and renovation projects creating demand for specialized equipment. These forklifts will likely spend years on various sites around Vienna, moving materials, lifting loads, and generally making construction work more efficient. Transport of heavy equipment like this requires careful planning. The forklifts are secured to our trailer using chains and binders, positioned to distribute weight appropriately and prevent shifting during transit. The combined weight of 12 tons is substantial, but well within our truck's capacity and within legal limits for our route. The machines are probably being shipped from a dealer or distributor in the UK to an Austrian construction company or equipment rental firm. The European construction equipment market is interconnected, with machines manufactured in various countries and distributed across the continent based on demand. Shipping by truck provides flexibility and door-to-door service that other transport modes can't match. For the construction company receiving them, these forklifts represent a significant investment, but also essential tools for completing their work. Modern construction projects involve moving enormous quantities of materials. Doing so efficiently and safely requires the right equipment. These rough terrain forklifts will earn their keep over the coming years. Liverpool spreads before us as we begin tonight's journey. This great port city on the River Mersey has been a center of trade for centuries. Its docks once handling goods from across the British Empire and beyond. Today, the city is known for many things: its maritime heritage, its cultural contributions, particularly music, and its ongoing transformation from industrial powerhouse to modern service economy. The city's history is tied intrinsically to the sea. Liverpool began as a small fishing village mentioned in the Domesday Book of 1086. Real growth started in the 17th century when trade with the Americas expanded. King John established Liverpool as a borough in 1207, recognizing its potential as a port, though centuries passed before that potential was fully realized. In the 18th century, Liverpool exploded in size and importance. The construction of the world's first commercial wet dock in 1715 revolutionized port operations. Wet docks maintain constant water levels using locks, allowing ships to load and unload regardless of tides. This innovation gave Liverpool a crucial advantage over rival ports. The triangular trade brought enormous wealth, but was built on horrific human suffering. Ships carried manufactured goods from Britain to West Africa, exchanged them for enslaved Africans who were transported across the Atlantic in appalling conditions, then brought back sugar, tobacco, cotton, and other commodities to Britain. Liverpool dominated this trade, with nearly 40% of Europe's slave trade passing through the port at the trade's peak. The city's prosperity was built on this shameful commerce. The 19th century brought further expansion as Liverpool became one of the world's greatest ports, handling cotton from America, goods from across the British Empire, and passengers emigrating to new lives overseas. The Cunard Line and White Star Line, major shipping companies, were based here. The city's population exploded from 77,000 in 1801 to over 700,000 by 1900. The Beatles emerged from Liverpool in the early 1960s, making the city synonymous with rock music worldwide. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr grew up absorbing influences from American music brought through the port. Their success put Liverpool on the global cultural map in ways trade never had. Beatles tourism remains significant, with the Cavern Club and related attractions generating substantial economic activity. Liverpool's port remains important today, though containerization and changing patterns have transformed operations. Some older dock areas have been redeveloped for housing, retail, and cultural uses, including the Albert Dock Complex with its museums and galleries. Our route out of Liverpool takes us southeast, joining the M62 motorway. This Transpennine route connects Liverpool with Hull on the east coast, crossing the Pennine Hills that form the backbone of northern England. We won't cross the full width tonight, instead transitioning to southbound motorways that will carry us toward Dover. The M62 is one of Britain's busiest freight corridors, connecting Liverpool with Hull on the east coast. We transition to the M6 southbound, Britain's longest motorway, running from Rugby in the Midlands north to the Scottish border. We'll follow it southbound, passing through the northwestern industrial belt where the Industrial Revolution was born. The M6 runs for 230 miles, making it Britain's longest motorway. We're using the southern portion, heading from the northwest toward the Midlands. The road was built in stages starting in the 1950s, with the full route completed by 1970. It carries enormous traffic volumes, particularly freight moving between the industrial north and southern regions. We pass near Manchester, another great industrial city with character distinct from Liverpool. Where Liverpool faces the sea and global trade, Manchester grew through manufacturing, particularly textiles. The city became the world's first industrial city during the 19th century, with cotton mills transforming raw American cotton into finished cloth using revolutionary machinery. Manchester's industrial heritage shaped the modern world in unexpected ways. The success of textile manufacturing created demand for faster transport, leading to the Liverpool and Manchester Railway in 1830, one of the world's first passenger railways. The social conditions in Manchester's mills and working-class neighborhoods influenced writers like Charles Dickens and Friedrich Engels, whose observations of Manchester's poverty helped shape his later collaboration with Karl Marx. Modern Manchester has transformed from its industrial roots. The mills are gone, replaced by services, media, technology, and higher education. The city is known for music, having spawned bands from Joy Division to Oasis. Manchester's two major football clubs, United and City, are globally famous. The city successfully hosted the 2002 Commonwealth Games, using the event to regenerate former industrial areas. Continuing south, the M6 passes through increasingly developed areas. The conurbation around Manchester blends into other towns without clear boundaries. Stockport, Warrington, and other communities form a continuous urban belt. The landscape that once was farmland between separate towns is now largely built up, reflecting centuries of growth and development. Near Stoke-on-Trent, we're passing through the Potteries, a region famous for ceramic production. Companies like Wedgwood, Royal Dalton, and Spode were based here, producing fine china and pottery for domestic and export markets. Local clay deposits and coal for firing kilns made this a natural center for ceramics. While the industry has declined, some production continues, and the region's pottery heritage remains important to its identity. The M6 continues through Staffordshire into the West Midlands. Birmingham appears ahead, Britain's second largest city, with over 1 million residents in the city proper and nearly 3 million in the metropolitan area. Birmingham grew explosively during the Industrial Revolution, becoming a center for manufacturing, metalworking, and engineering. The city was known as the workshop of the world during the 19th century, producing everything from buttons to steam engines. Major companies like Cadbury Chocolate and BSA motorcycles were based here. The jewelry quarter became a center for jewelry and metalwork, a district that still maintains that character today. Birmingham faced severe challenges in the late 20th century as traditional manufacturing declined. Unemployment soared, inner-city areas deteriorated, and the city struggled economically. However, regeneration efforts since the 1990s have transformed Birmingham. The Bullring Shopping Center, canal-side developments, and new cultural facilities have revitalized the city center. The economy has shifted toward services, with finance, professional services, and conventions becoming important sectors. The city is remarkably diverse, with large communities from South Asia, the Caribbean, and elsewhere creating a multicultural environment. Birmingham's food scene reflects this diversity, with excellent restaurants serving cuisines from around the world. Near Birmingham, we encounter the nation's motorway interchange system at its most complex. Birmingham sits at the center of Britain's motorway network, with the M5, M6, M40, and M42 all converging here. The Spaghetti Junction interchange, officially the Gravelly Hill interchange, is particularly complex with 5 levels of roadway handling 6 different routes. Opened in 1972, it became an icon of 1970s modernist infrastructure. We navigate the junctions carefully, transitioning onto routes carrying us toward London and eventually Dover. The M40 becomes our path, heading southeast toward the capital. This motorway was built later than the M1 and M6, with the full route from London to Birmingham completed only in 1990. It provides a faster alternative to the congested M1 for traffic between London and the Midlands. The landscape changes as we head toward London. The industrial Midlands give way to more prosperous rural areas. Warwickshire and Oxfordshire are distinctly southern in character, wealthier and less industrial than regions further north. Small towns maintain historic character, many with roots in medieval periods or earlier. We pass near Oxford, one of Britain's 2 ancient university cities. Oxford University, founded in the 12th century, consists of numerous independent colleges spread throughout the city. The university has educated countless notable figures, including prime ministers, scientists, writers, and Nobel laureates. The beautiful college buildings, particularly their chapels and libraries, make Oxford architecturally stunning. But Oxford is more than just a university town. The city also has significant industry, particularly automotive production. The BMW Mini plant in Cowley is a major employer. The mix of academic life and industrial work creates interesting dynamics. Approaching London, development becomes denser. The Green Belt, a protected zone of countryside surrounding London, slows sprawl but creates sharp transitions between rural and urban areas. The M25, London's orbital motorway, handles through traffic wanting to avoid the congested center. The M25 was built in sections from 1975 to 1986, creating a complete circuit around London, roughly 20 miles from the center. At 117 miles long, it's one of Europe's longest orbital roads. The motorway was immediately controversial, with critics arguing it would encourage more driving rather than solve congestion. Time proved the critics right. The M25 frequently ranks among Britain's most congested roads. Tonight, traffic is moderate, allowing steady progress around London's southern arc. The motorway passes through Surrey and into Kent, crossing the North Downs at one point through a cutting that required moving millions of tons of chalk. To our right, beyond the suburban development, lies London itself. London's history spans 2 millennia from Roman Londinium to today's global city. The Romans established a settlement around 47 AD at a convenient Thames crossing point. The city grew to become Britain's capital and eventually center of a global empire. Today, Greater London has over 9 million residents, making it Europe's largest urban area by some measures. The city's economic power is enormous. The financial district, including the historic Square Mile and the newer Canary Wharf, handles vast sums daily. London is a global financial center alongside New York and Hong Kong. Beyond finance, London dominates British media, culture, politics, and services. This concentration of power and wealth in one city creates tensions with other regions that feel overlooked. We continue around the M25's southern sections, passing through increasingly rural Kent countryside. The county is called the Garden of England, for good reason, with orchards producing apples, pears, and cherries. Hop gardens supply Britain's brewing industry. The distinctive cone-shaped oast houses used for drying hops dotting the landscape. Kent has complex history as the front line of Britain's defenses. Dover Castle fortified the coast against invasion for centuries. During World War II, Kent became known as Hellfire Corner for the intensity of German bombing and shelling. The Battle of Britain in 1940 saw fierce aerial combat over Kent's skies as the RAF fought to prevent German invasion. The M20 carries us southeast from the M25 toward Dover. This motorway was built specifically to handle Channel traffic, connecting London with the port. The road passes through the Kent Downs, an area of outstanding natural beauty, with the motorway carefully routed to minimize visual impact on the landscape. Dover appears ahead, the famous white cliffs rising dramatically from the sea. These chalk cliffs have become a symbol of Britain, marking the nation's edge just 21 miles from France. Dover's strategic importance stretches back to Roman times. The castle, dating from the 11th century, dominates the town from its hilltop perch, having defended England for nearly a millennium. Dover Castle is one of the largest and most important castles in England. The site has been fortified since Iron Age times. The Romans built a lighthouse here, the ruins of which still stand as Britain's tallest surviving Roman structure. The Normans began the present castle in the 11th century, though it was extensively modified in later centuries. The castle served military purposes for nearly 900 years. During the Napoleonic Wars, extensive tunnels were dug beneath it. These same tunnels were expanded and used in both world wars. In 1940, the Dunkirk evacuation, codenamed Operation Dynamo, was commanded from the castle's tunnels. Over 338,000 Allied troops were evacuated from Dunkirk's beaches under constant German attack, a remarkable feat that allowed Britain to fight on. The ferry port handles millions of passengers and vehicles annually. We complete check-in formalities and board a ro-ro ferry, parking in the vehicle deck among other trucks. The deck crew directs parking with practiced efficiency, maximizing use of available space. Trucks are positioned carefully to maintain stability and allow orderly disembarkation at Calais. The crossing takes approximately 90 minutes in normal conditions, though weather can extend this. The English Channel, or La Manche as the French call it, is only 21 miles wide at its narrowest, but is one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. Over 400 commercial ships pass through the Dover Strait daily, along with numerous ferries and recreational vessels. The channel's importance to Britain cannot be overstated. As an island nation, Britain's connections to the continent depend on this water crossing. Before the Channel Tunnel opened in 1994, ferries provided the only way to take vehicles across. Even with the tunnel, ferries remain vital, handling volume the tunnel cannot accommodate and providing redundancy if tunnel problems occur. Weather in the channel can be challenging. The narrow strait concentrates tidal flows, creating strong currents. Wind from the Atlantic funnels through, sometimes creating rough seas. Fog is common, particularly in autumn and winter. Modern ferries handle these conditions routinely, but historically, channel crossings could be dangerous and unpredictable. The ferry companies operating this route include P&O Ferries and DFDS, both with long histories in channel shipping. They operate modern ro-ro vessels designed specifically for the Dover-Calais route. These ships are massive, capable of carrying hundreds of vehicles and over 1,000 passengers. Multiple vehicle decks accommodate cars, trucks, coaches, and other vehicles. The ferries run on tight schedules, with departures every 30 to 60 minutes during peak periods. This frequency is essential to handle the enormous volume of cross-channel traffic. Delays on one sailing can cascade through the schedule, affecting multiple subsequent departures. The ferry companies work hard to maintain punctuality. From the deck, the white cliffs recede. The channel's gray-green waters chop beneath us, eternal motion in this narrow strait. Seabirds follow, hoping for scraps. Other ferries pass in both directions, maintaining the constant flow of people and goods. Cargo ships, tankers, and container vessels traverse the shipping lanes, each following precise routes to avoid collisions in this congested waterway. The channel has witnessed enormous historical events. William the Conqueror crossed from Normandy to invade England in 1066. The Spanish Armada sailed these waters in 1588. Napoleon massed invasion forces on the French coast, but never attempted the crossing. During both World Wars, the channel was vital for supply lines and military operations. The D-Day invasion fleet assembled and crossed the channel in 1944. Today the crossing is routine, almost mundane, yet it remains a significant transition, the moment when Britain truly connects physically with continental Europe. For freight operators like us, it's simply part of the route, a necessary water gap in an otherwise road-based journey. The French coast appears, Calais growing clearer as we approach. The town, like Dover, exists primarily to handle cross-channel traffic. The port facilities are massive, with multiple ferry terminals and cargo handling areas. We disembark, driving off the ferry onto French roads. Border formalities are minimal for freight, thanks to electronic systems and advanced documentation. The E40 motorway becomes our route eastward through northern France. The landscape is flat, part of the Great Plains stretching from northern France across Belgium and into the Netherlands and northern Germany. This geography has made the region easy to traverse, but also vulnerable to invasion throughout history. Northern France is agricultural, with large fields producing wheat, sugar beets, barley, and other crops. Mechanized farming has created efficiency, but also changed rural landscapes. Small farms have consolidated into larger operations. Villages that once housed agricultural workers have become bedroom communities, or in some cases have declined as younger people move away. The fields we pass are enormous by British standards. French agriculture modernized significantly in the decades after World War II, with mechanization and consolidation creating highly productive farms. Wheat yields in northern France rank among the world's highest. Sugar beet cultivation supports a significant processing industry with refineries scattered across the region. The history of northern France in the 20th century is particularly tragic. During World War I, this region saw some of the conflict's bloodiest battles. The Western Front trenches ran through northern France and Belgium, with places like Verdun, the Somme, and Ypres becoming synonyms for industrial slaughter. Millions died in fighting that gained little ground. The landscape still bears scars, with mine craters, unexploded ordnance still being discovered, and vast cemeteries. The Battle of the Somme in 1916 exemplifies the horror. British and French forces attacked German positions in an attempt to break through the trench lines. On the first day alone, July 1st, 1916, nearly 20,000 British soldiers died and another 40,000 were wounded. The battle continued for months, eventually causing over 1 million casualties on all sides while advancing the front line only a few miles. World War II brought fresh devastation. German invasion in 1940 swept through the region, with mechanized warfare replacing the static trench fighting of the previous war. Allied liberation in 1944 involved heavy combat as forces pushed inland from the Normandy beaches. Towns were destroyed, infrastructure wrecked. Post-war reconstruction rebuilt the region, but also erased much historical architecture. Many northern French towns have somewhat generic modern centers as a result. War memorials appear frequently along our route. Nearly every village has a monument listing local men who died in the world wars. British and Commonwealth War cemeteries, maintained by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, dot the landscape. These neat rows of white headstones are poignant reminders of the human cost of those conflicts. The autoroute network provides efficient transport. France invested heavily in motorways from the 1960s onward, creating one of Europe's best highway systems. Most routes are tolled, with charges funding construction and maintenance. The tolls can be expensive, particularly for trucks, but the infrastructure quality justifies the cost for most freight operators. French autoroutes typically feature excellent pavement, clear signage in French and increasingly in English for major routes, and regular rest areas with facilities. The rest areas, called aires, range from simple parking areas to elaborate service plazas with restaurants, shops, and fuel. Some aires feature regional products and tourism information, serving as gateways to local areas. We pass near Lille, northern France's major city, with a metropolitan area of over 1 million people. Lille was historically an industrial center, with textiles, coal mining, and manufacturing dominating its economy. Like many industrial cities, Lille faced difficulties as traditional industries declined. However, the city has successfully transformed, developing services, culture, and higher education. The Eurostar high-speed rail connection to London and Brussels passes through Lille, making it more accessible and attractive. The city has preserved and restored its historic center, a beautiful area of Flemish architecture reflecting Lille's historical connection to the Low Countries. Continuing east, we cross into Belgium. The border is unmarked, just a transition in road signs and subtle landscape changes. Belgium is small, only about 30,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of Maryland. Yet, it's densely populated with over 11 million people and economically important far beyond its size. Belgium's location at the crossroads of Western Europe has been both blessing and curse. The country benefits from trade passing through, but has also been invaded repeatedly. During both World Wars, Belgium was a battleground. Places like Ypres and Passchendaele are forever associated with the horrors of World War I. The country's neutrality, guaranteed by international treaty, didn't save it from invasion and occupation. Modern Belgium is prosperous, but politically complex. The country is divided between Dutch-speaking Flanders in the north and French-speaking Wallonia in the south, with a small German-speaking community in the east. This linguistic division creates political tensions that sometimes threaten national unity. Brussels is officially bilingual, but predominantly French-speaking, despite being surrounded by Flanders. Despite internal tensions, Belgium functions well in many respects. The economy is developed and diversified. Brussels hosts the European Union's main institutions, making it the de facto capital of Europe. The European Commission, the Council of the European Union, and part of the European Parliament are all based here. This brings enormous economic activity, with thousands of international civil servants, lobbyists, businesses, and associated services. Liège appears ahead, Belgium's third largest city after Brussels and Antwerp. The city sits at the confluence of the Meuse and Orte rivers, a strategic location that made it important throughout history. Liège was a center of arms manufacturing for centuries, with firearms and steel production dominating the local economy. The city's industrial heritage is evident, though like elsewhere, traditional industries have declined. Coal mining that once employed thousands ceased in the 1980s. Steel production continues, but on reduced scale. Services, logistics, and education have grown to fill employment gaps. The University of Liège is a major research institution, bringing students and innovation to the city. Belgian motorways are free to use, unusual in Western Europe where tolls are common. This makes Belgium popular with freight traffic, which saves considerable money avoiding toll charges. However, the roads are heavily used and require constant maintenance. Construction zones are frequent as the network undergoes perpetual upgrading. We cross into Germany, the road numbering and signage changing, but the journey continuing without pause. Crossing Schengen borders is almost anticlimactic. No barriers, no checks, just a sign indicating the new country. This free movement represents decades of European integration. The A4 Autobahn runs east through Western Germany, a region historically industrial and still economically important. Cities appear regularly, each connected to the highway network. The landscape mixes forests, agricultural land, and developed areas, typical of Germany's densely populated western regions. Germany's Autobahn network is legendary, famous worldwide for sections without universal speed limits. However, this reputation is somewhat exaggerated. About 30% of the network has permanent speed limits. Another 10% has temporary limits depending on conditions, and only about 60% truly lacks posted limits. For trucks, speed limits apply universally. Vehicles over 3.5 tons are restricted to 80 km/h on autobahns. The Autobahn system dates to the 1930s, though planning began earlier during the Weimar Republic. The first Autobahn opened in 1932 between Cologne and Bonn. Expansion continued significantly during the following years as part of national economic planning. After World War II, both West and East Germany continued developing their Autobahn networks, and after reunification in 1990, the systems were integrated and expanded further. Today, Germany has over 13,000 kilometers of Autobahn, one of the world's most extensive highway systems. The lack of universal speed limits on some sections makes it unique among major industrialized nations. However, even on unrestricted sections, a recommended speed of 130 km/h is posted. The engineering standards are high, with gentle curves, long sight lines, and careful grade management. The pavement quality is generally excellent, though construction and maintenance work is constant. Electronic signs provide traffic information, weather warnings, and speed recommendations. The infrastructure represents decades of investment and continuous improvement. German Autobahns are heavily used, particularly by freight. Trucks from across Europe pass through Germany on their way to destinations throughout the continent. Germany sits at the heart of Europe geographically and economically, making it a natural crossroads for international trade. We pass south of Cologne. The cathedral's twin spires would be visible in daylight, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and Germany's most visited landmark. Cologne sits on the Rhine, Germany's most important river, vital for European trade and culture for 2,000 years. The city is over 2,000 years old, founded by Romans, and today serves as a media hub. The Cologne Cathedral is one of the world's great Gothic structures. Construction began in 1248, but wasn't finished until 1880, making it one of the longest construction projects in history. The building survived World War II despite intensive bombing that destroyed most of the surrounding city. The cathedral is said to contain relics of the three wise men, making it an important pilgrimage site. The Rhine River flows through Cologne, connecting the Alps to the North Sea. The river has been central to European commerce for millennia. Roman traders used it, medieval merchants transported goods along it, and modern barges still carry cargo. The Rhine Valley, with its castles, vineyards, and towns, is romantically beautiful, inspiring countless cultural works. Cologne itself is over 2,000 years old. The Romans founded it as Colonia Claudia Ara Agrippinensium in 50 AD. Roman heritage remains visible in parts of the city, including walls, towers, and exceptional mosaics now in museums. Throughout the Middle Ages, Cologne was one of the largest and most important cities in the Holy Roman Empire, a major trading center. Today, Cologne is a media hub, home to numerous television and radio stations, production companies, and publishing houses. The city's carnival, celebrated before Lent, is one of Europe's largest, with elaborate parades and festivities. The Autobahn continues through increasingly varied terrain. Hills appear, forests grow denser as we enter central Germany, transitioning from the flat northwest to varied center and south. Near Frankfurt, we shift onto routes heading southeast. Frankfurt is Germany's financial capital, home to the European Central Bank. The city's high-rise skyline reflects its economic importance. Frankfurt is Germany's financial center, home to the European Central Bank and Deutsche Börse stock exchange. The city's skyline, unusual for Germany with its cluster of high-rises, reflects financial sector dominance. Frankfurt is also a major transport hub with Europe's third busiest airport and Germany's most important railway station. The city has ancient roots, though little medieval architecture survived World War II bombing and post-war development. Frankfurt's modern character is business-oriented, somewhat different from more historically preserved cities, but economically vital to Germany and Europe. The city handles enormous monetary flows daily, playing a crucial role in European finance. Beyond Frankfurt, the landscape becomes more rural. Central Germany features forests, hills, and agricultural valleys. Small towns appear regularly, each with its own character and history. This region is less industrial than the Ruhr or Bavaria, creating different economic patterns based on services, agriculture, and small-scale manufacturing. The route continues through Bavaria, Germany's largest state. The landscape becomes alpine in character heading south, with hills giving way to mountains visible in the distance. Traditional Bavarian architecture appears in villages we pass. Bavaria is economically powerful, despite rural appearance in parts. Munich anchors the regional economy with major companies like BMW and Siemens headquartered there. The state balances industrial strength with agricultural heritage and tourism. Bavarian identity is strong and distinct from the rest of Germany. The Free State of Bavaria, as it's officially titled, has its own traditions, dialect, and political culture. Bavarians take pride in their heritage, from elaborate traditional costumes still worn at festivals to the distinctive white and blue flag that flies throughout the state. Beer culture is genuinely central to Bavarian life, not just tourist marketing. The Bavarian Purity Law of 1516, the Reinheitsgebot, established strict standards for beer production that influenced brewing worldwide. Bavaria has more breweries than any other German state, many small family operations producing distinctive local beers. Beer gardens are social institutions where people of all ages gather, particularly in summer. The landscape we're passing through reflects Bavaria's agricultural heritage. Despite industrial strength, agriculture remains important. Dairy farming dominates the southern Alpine regions, producing milk, cheese, and butter sold throughout Germany and beyond. The farms tend to be family operations passed through generations, though they've modernized with contemporary equipment and methods. Traditional Bavarian farmhouses are distinctive with their broad overhanging roofs, carved balconies, and painted facades. Many feature religious scenes or folk art, decorations. These buildings aren't museum pieces, but functioning farms, though maintaining traditional architecture while meeting modern needs creates challenges for farmers. Bavaria's economy is remarkably strong. The state has successfully balanced traditional sectors like agriculture and brewing with modern industries, including automotive, aerospace, and technology. Unemployment is consistently below national averages. Quality of life is high, and the state budget usually shows surpluses. Tourism is significant, particularly in Alpine regions. Neuschwanstein Castle, King Ludwig II's fairy tale creation, attracts over 1 million visitors annually. The romantic road tourist route showcases medieval towns and scenic landscapes. Oktoberfest in Munich is the world's largest beer festival, drawing 6 million visitors. Winter sports in the Alps bring more tourists. We approach the Austrian border near Passau, where the Inn and Ilz rivers meet the Danube. This area is beautiful, with forested hills and river valleys. Passau itself is historic, with Baroque architecture and long trading tradition. Passau sits at a remarkable confluence where 3 rivers meet. The Danube arrives from the west, the Inn flows from the south, bringing alpine snowmelt, and the smaller Ilz joins from the north. The 3 rivers have different colors. The Danube is muddy brown, the Inn is green from alpine minerals, and the Ilz is black from its passage through peat bogs. Where they meet, the waters flow side by side for some distance before fully mixing, creating a visible, striped effect. This geographic position made Passau strategically and commercially important throughout history. The city controlled river trade on the Danube, one of Europe's great waterways. Salt from nearby Austrian mines flowed through Passau, enriching the city. The prince-bishops who ruled Passau for centuries became enormously wealthy from customs duties and trade. That wealth funded Passau's spectacular Baroque architecture. St. Stephen's Cathedral dominates the old town, its Baroque interior featuring one of the world's largest church organs with over 17,000 pipes. The Oberhaus fortress overlooks the city from a hilltop. Built in the 13th century and expanded over centuries. The old town's narrow streets and painted facades create a picturesque scene that attracts tourists. Modern Passau is a modest city of about 50,000 residents, but its position makes it an important crossing point. The city serves as a gateway between Germany and Austria, with cultures and influences blending in this border region. River cruise ships dock here, as Passau is a major stop on Danube cruises between Germany and the Black Sea. The border crossing itself is seamless thanks to Schengen. We simply drive from German roads onto Austrian roads, the only indication being signs changing from German to Austrian style and the geobox toll system activating. This free movement across borders, taken for granted today, represents decades of European integration and cooperation. Crossing into Austria, the GoBox truck tolling system activates, charging based on distance and axles. Austrian motorway tolls fund extensive infrastructure required to maintain roads through mountainous terrain. Austrian autobahns operate under a different system than German ones. All vehicles must display either a vignette or, for trucks, use the GeoBox electronic tolling system. For trucks over 3.5 tons like ours, the GeoBox system charges based on distance traveled and number of axles. The device is mounted inside the windscreen, and overhead gantries read it automatically, calculating and charging tolls. Some sections of Austrian Autobahn carry additional tolls beyond the standard system. The Brenner Autobahn, certain tunnels, and a few other expensive-to-maintain routes charge extra. This dual toll system can make Austrian highway use expensive for freight operators, but it funds the maintenance and expansion of the network. Austrian speed limits are strictly enforced. The general limit is 130 km/h for cars. though trucks are restricted to 80 km/h. Variable speed limits adjust based on weather and traffic conditions. Fixed and mobile speed cameras are common. The fines for violations are substantial. The engineering of Austrian autobahns through mountainous terrain is impressive. Long tunnels bypass difficult mountain passes. Bridges span deep valleys. The gradients are carefully controlled to allow trucks to maintain reasonable speeds. Winter maintenance is excellent, with snow plows and salt trucks keeping routes open even in heavy snowfall. The A8 carries us through Upper Austria toward Linz and eventually Vienna. The region features rolling hills and forests, economically dynamic with Linz as the major industrial center. Upper Austria is one of Austria's most economically dynamic regions. The capital, Linz, is a major industrial center known for steel production, chemicals, and, increasingly, technology and services. The region has successfully balanced traditional industries with modern sectors, creating a diversified economy. Linz has about 200,000 residents, making it Austria's third largest city. The city has always been industrial in character, quite distinct from tourist-focused Salzburg or cultural Vienna. Steel production has been central to Linz's economy since the 19th century, with voestalpine operating major facilities here. The company has evolved from producing basic steel to specialized high-performance materials for automotive, aerospace, and railway applications. Linz also has a significant port on the Danube. River shipping remains important for bulk goods, with barges moving grain, steel products, containers, and other cargo between Central European cities. The Danube connects Linz to Vienna downstream and eventually to the Black Sea, while upstream connections reach Bavaria and beyond. The city has worked to diversify beyond traditional industry. Technology companies have established operations. The Ars Electronica Festival, focused on art, technology, and society, has given Linz a reputation for innovation and creativity. Universities bring research activity and younger demographics. The city is transforming while maintaining its industrial base. The Danube River flows through Upper Austria, and while we don't follow it closely on our route, its influence on the region is profound. The Danube is Europe's second longest river, flowing nearly 2,900 kilometers from Germany's Black Forest to the Black Sea. It passes through or borders 10 countries, more than any other river in the world. We continue on the A1, Austria's West Autobahn connecting Vienna with western regions. This is Austria's primary east-west artery, vital for both domestic travel and international freight. The motorway was built in stages from the 1960s through 1980s as Austria developed its highway network. Vienna approaches, Austria's capital and largest city on the Danube, with nearly 2 million people in the metropolitan area. The city's historic importance as Habsburg Empire capital is evident in architecture, culture, and character. Vienna has been a major European center for over a millennium. As the Habsburg capital from the 13th century until 1918, Vienna was the seat of one of Europe's great empires, ruling territories across Central and Eastern Europe. The imperial legacy is visible everywhere. The palaces, the grand boulevards, the museums and cultural institutions. The Habsburg Empire, which ruled from Vienna for over 600 years, drew in territories and peoples from across Central and Eastern Europe. While the empire dissolved after World War I, its legacy remains in Austria's cosmopolitan character and cultural sophistication. Vienna's imperial architecture, its music tradition from Mozart to Strauss, and its cafe culture all reflect this heritage. Post-Empire Vienna became capital of much smaller Austria, but retained cultural significance. The city is known for classical music, having been home to Mozart, Beethoven, and Strauss. Coffeehouse culture and art, Nouveau, architecture, make Vienna one of Europe's most attractive cities. Modern Vienna is prosperous with diverse economy, including services, tourism, and as gateway between Western and Eastern Europe. It consistently ranks among the world's most livable cities in various surveys. The economy is diverse, with strengths in services, tourism, and as a gateway between Western and Eastern Europe. International organizations, including the United Nations and OPEC, maintain offices here. The United Nations maintains a major presence in Vienna, with several agencies headquartered here, including the International Atomic Energy Agency, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and others. This international presence brings thousands of diplomats, civil servants, and associated personnel to the city, contributing to its cosmopolitan character. The city serves as a gateway for business between Western and Eastern Europe. Many companies use Vienna as their regional headquarters for operations, extending into Central and Eastern European markets. The city's location, infrastructure, and business environment make it attractive for international firms. Vienna's construction sector remains active despite economic uncertainties. Housing demand continues as the population grows. Infrastructure requires constant maintenance and periodic major upgrades. Commercial development brings office buildings, retail centers, and industrial facilities. These projects all create demand for equipment like the forklifts we're delivering. We navigate into Vienna, following signs to the delivery location. The city's streets are busy even in the evening, with trams, cars, and pedestrians creating a lively urban environment. Vienna's public transport system is excellent, with an extensive metro network, trams, and buses moving people efficiently around the city. The delivery location is likely a construction equipment yard or facility where the forklifts will be inspected, prepared, and eventually deployed to job sites. These facilities typically include covered storage for valuable equipment, maintenance bays for repairs, and offices for administration. The forklifts are unloaded using a loading dock or ramps, carefully positioned to avoid damage. Each machine weighs 6 tons, so proper equipment and procedures are essential. The receiving company will inspect the machines for any transport damage, though proper securing should have prevented issues. Insurance covers major damage, but everyone prefers that equipment arrives in perfect condition. Paperwork accompanies the delivery. Bills of lading confirming receipt, customs documents if required, maintenance records, and operating manuals. The receiving company signs off. The delivery accepting responsibility for the equipment. Our first delivery is complete. One leg of tonight's double haul finished. Now, we prepare for the second journey with packaged motor oil heading to Germany. After delivering the forklifts, we hook up to a trailer loaded with 18 tons of packaged motor oil. The load consists of palletized cases containing bottles, jugs, or drums of finished motor oil ready for retail or commercial distribution. This is a very different cargo from our first load, requiring different handling than the heavy machinery we brought to Vienna. Motor oil, or engine oil, is a lubricant used in internal combustion engines. Its primary function is to lubricate moving parts, reducing friction and wear. But modern motor oils do much more. They also cool engine components, clean by suspending contaminants, provide corrosion protection, and even help seal piston rings to cylinder walls. The oil we're transporting has already been refined, blended, and packaged. Crude oil from underground reservoirs was transported to refineries, where it underwent fractional distillation and further processing to separate it into different products: gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, heating oil, lubricating oil, and various other materials. Motor oil-based stocks come from this refining process, specifically from heavier fractions of crude oil. These base stocks are then blended with various additives to create finished motor oils with specific properties. The additive package can constitute 20 to 30% of the final product, with each component serving a specific purpose. Viscosity modifiers are perhaps the most important additives. Viscosity describes how easily the oil flows, and it changes with temperature. Oil needs to flow easily when cold for starting and initial lubrication, but it must maintain sufficient thickness when hot to provide adequate protection. Viscosity modifiers help oil maintain appropriate flow characteristics across a wide temperature range, which is why you see ratings like 5W30 or 10W40. Detergents and dispersants keep engines clean by preventing deposit formation and suspending contaminants. Detergents neutralize acids formed during combustion, preventing corrosive wear. Dispersants keep particles like soot suspended in the oil rather than allowing them to settle out and form sludge. Anti-wear additives provide additional protection under high pressure and temperature conditions where the oil film might break down. Zinc dialkyl dithiophosphate, or ZDDP, is a common anti-wear additive that has been used for decades, though its use is being reduced in some modern formulations due to environmental concerns. Antioxidants prevent the oil from oxidizing, which would cause it to thicken and form deposits. Friction modifiers reduce friction beyond what the base oil alone provides, potentially improving fuel economy. Pour-point depressants keep the oil flowing at low temperatures. Foam inhibitors prevent air from creating foam in the oil, which would reduce its lubricating effectiveness. Our load tonight consists of packaged motor oil, likely in plastic bottles or jugs for consumer retail, or possibly in larger drums for commercial and industrial customers. The packaging serves multiple purposes. It protects the oil from contamination, allows for labeling with specifications and marketing information, makes the product convenient for handling and use, and meets regulatory requirements for hazardous materials transport. Consumer-size packaging typically ranges from 1 liter to 5 liter containers. These bottles are high-density polyethylene plastic, chosen for being lightweight, shatter-resistant, and chemically compatible with petroleum products. The plastic is typically opaque or translucent, protecting the oil from light exposure, which can degrade quality over time. The containers are designed with handles for easy carrying and pouring spouts for controlled dispensing. The bottles are sealed to prevent leaks and tampering. Cap seals show whether containers have been opened, important for both quality assurance and theft prevention. Labels provide brand information, viscosity ratings like 5W30 or 10W40, API certification marks confirming the oil meets industry standards, usage instructions, safety data, and marketing messaging. Different viscosity grades serve different engines and climates. The numbers and ratings like 5W30 indicate the oil's flow characteristics at different temperatures. The first number with W for winter shows cold weather viscosity. Lower numbers flow better when cold. The second number indicates high temperature viscosity. Higher numbers maintain thickness better when hot. Modern multi-grade oils perform across wide temperature ranges, suitable for varied conditions. API certification marks like API-SN or API-SP indicate the oil meets American Petroleum Institute standards for quality and performance. These standards ensure oils protect engines adequately and are updated periodically as engine technology evolves. European ACEA specifications provide similar quality assurance for European markets. Oil manufacturers invest heavily in meeting these standards, as certification is essential for commercial success. Synthetic oils represent the premium segment of the motor oil market. Unlike conventional oils refined from crude petroleum, synthetics are chemically engineered for superior performance. They flow better at low temperatures, maintain viscosity better at high temperatures, resist oxidation, and break down longer, and generally provide better engine protection. However, they cost significantly more than conventional oils, limiting their market share despite performance advantages. Semi-synthetic or synthetic blend oils combine conventional and synthetic base stocks, offering performance improvements over conventional oils at lower cost than full synthetics. These products have grown in popularity as consumers seek better protection without full synthetic pricing. Commercial packaging uses larger containers. 20-liter pails serve mechanics and small commercial operations. 55-gallon drums, the industry standard for bulk liquids, supply larger commercial users. Some industrial operations use intermediate bulk containers, or IBCs, which hold 1,000 liters in a reusable plastic container on a pallet. The containers we're carrying are arranged on pallets, probably Euro pallets measuring 120 cm by 80 cm. Each pallet holds multiple layers of bottles or jugs wrapped in plastic film to secure them and protect from dirt and moisture. The pallets are loaded into the trailer, arranged to distribute weight appropriately and maximize space usage. 18 tons of motor oil represents roughly 20,000 to 21,000 liters, depending on the specific formulation's density. If packaged in 1-liter bottles, that's 20,000 individual containers. More likely, the load includes a mix of sizes, some 1-liter bottles for retail, some 5-liter jugs for DIY consumers and small workshops, possibly some drums for commercial customers. Alternatively, motor oil can be transported in bulk using tanker trucks, though this wasn't the case for our load tonight. Bulk transport involves pumping oil directly into a tank trailer, similar to how fuel is transported. This method is used when moving large quantities from refineries or blending facilities to packaging plants or large industrial consumers. Bulk tankers are more efficient for very large volumes, but require specialized equipment for loading and unloading, and the receiving facility must have storage tanks. For distribution to retail and most commercial customers, packaged product is more practical. The packaged approach we're using tonight provides flexibility. The load can be split at distribution centers, with portions going to different customers. Individual packages can be handled, stored, and displayed easily. Retailers can stock shelves directly from our delivery. This convenience comes at the cost of more packaging material and slightly less efficient use of transport capacity compared to bulk. But for most distribution scenarios, packaged product is the right choice. Temperature management is generally not critical for motor oil during transport. The oil tolerates a wide temperature range without damage. It will thicken in cold weather and thin in hot weather. But these changes reverse when temperature returns to normal. There's no need for heating or refrigeration during our journey, just protection from extreme conditions that might damage packaging. Our 18-ton load probably originated from a packaging facility or distribution center in Austria. Vienna, as a major city and economic center, hosts various logistics operations. The oil might have been blended and packaged in Austria, or it could have been imported and is now being distributed to the German market. The destination in Osnabruck is likely a distribution center that will further subdivide the load. Some pallets might go to retail stores, others to automotive workshops, still others to industrial facilities. The distribution network for motor oil is complex, with multiple tiers between production and end consumer. Motor oil is a massive global industry. Hundreds of millions of vehicles worldwide require regular oil changes. Each change uses several liters of oil. Commercial and industrial engines need even more. The total market for motor oils is valued in tens of billions of dollars annually, with major brands like Mobil, Castrol, Shell, and others competing for market share. Environmental regulations govern motor oil strictly. Used oil is considered hazardous waste and must be collected and recycled or disposed of properly. New oil packaging must meet safety standards for transport and handling. The industry has developed recycling programs for used oil, with modern re-refining processes able to restore used oil to near virgin quality. For our purposes tonight, the packaged motor oil is cargo requiring careful transport from Vienna to Osnabruck. We'll secure the load properly to prevent shifting, maintain steady driving to avoid damage to packaging, and deliver the product in good condition, ready for distribution. We depart Vienna heading northwest, retracing part of our inbound route on the A1. The night is well advanced, but traffic continues even late. Austria's motorway system sees constant use, with both domestic and transit traffic moving through this Central European crossroads. The A1 West Autobahn is Austria's main east-west corridor, connecting the capital with Linz, Salzburg, and the German border. This route has existed in various forms for centuries, following natural corridors through the Austrian landscape. The modern motorway dates from the 1960s and 1970s, built as Austria developed its highway network. We pass back through Lower Austria, the state surrounding Vienna. Despite the name, Lower Austria is not south of Upper Austria, but rather to the east and northeast. The naming reflects historical geography related to the Danube River's flow direction rather than compass orientation. The region is diverse, with agricultural areas, forests, and the wine-producing Wachau Valley to the northwest. Lower Austria is actually Austria's largest state by area, covering over 19,000 square kilometers. The landscape varies enormously from the flat Marchfeld Plains east of Vienna to the Alpine foothills in the southwest. Agriculture dominates much of the region, with vineyards particularly important along the Danube Valley. The Wachau Valley, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is one of Austria's premier wine regions. The terraced vineyards produce excellent white wines, particularly Gruner Veltliner and Riesling. The valley combines natural beauty with cultural heritage. Medieval castles perch on hilltops, Baroque abbeys overlook the river, and picturesque villages cluster along the Danube's banks. St. Pölten appears to our right, Lower Austria's capital since 1986, when it replaced Vienna in that role. The city is modest compared to Vienna, but has grown as an administrative and commercial center. Its location, roughly halfway between Vienna and Salzburg, makes it a natural waypoint on this major route. The motorway continues west through increasingly hilly terrain. Forests become denser, agriculture gives way to woodland and scattered settlements. This is the transition zone between Vienna's metropolitan area and the more rural regions of Western Austria. Linz approaches again, the industrial city we passed on our inbound journey. At this hour, the steel mills continue operating, their lights visible in the distance. Heavy industry never sleeps. Furnaces must be kept hot. Production lines continue around the clock. The city's economy depends on this constant activity. Linz has about 200,000 residents, making it Austria's third largest city after Vienna and Graz. Unlike those cities with their imperial or historic charm, Linz is thoroughly industrial in character. The city grew significantly during the 19th century, when steel production began, and it expanded further in the 20th century with chemical and manufacturing industries. Voestalpine, one of Europe's leading steel companies, dominates Linz's industrial landscape. The company's origins date to 1938, though it has undergone numerous transformations since. Today, Voestalpine produces specialized steel products for automotive, aerospace, and railway applications. The company has evolved from basic steel production to high-tech materials, employing thousands in Linz and operating facilities worldwide. The city also has a significant port on the Danube. River shipping remains important for bulk goods, with barges moving grain, steel products, containers, and other cargo between Central European cities. The Danube connects Linz to Vienna downstream and eventually to the Black Sea, while upstream connections reach Bavaria and beyond. The river provides a cost-effective transport alternative for heavy or bulk cargo, where time pressures aren't critical. Linz has worked to shed its image as purely industrial. The Ars Electronica Center, a museum and festival dedicated to art, technology, and society, has become internationally known. The annual Ars Electronica Festival attracts artists, technologists, and thinkers from around the world. The city is positioning itself as a center for innovation and digital culture, building on its industrial heritage while embracing new directions. The Lentos Art Museum and the Bruckner Concert Hall reflect Linz's cultural ambitions. The city was European Capital of Culture in 2009, an honor that spurred investment in cultural infrastructure and helped reshape Linz's identity. The transformation shows how industrial cities can reinvent themselves while maintaining their economic base. Beyond Linz, we continue on the A1 through Upper Austria's rolling landscape. The region is beautiful even at night, with forested hills and occasional valleys visible in our headlights. Small towns appear occasionally, their lights marking human settlement in this largely rural area. The Salzkammergut region lies to our south, a lake district known for stunning scenery. Hallstatt, a picturesque village on a mountain lake, has become almost too famous, with mass tourism straining the tiny community. But beyond the hotspots, the region retains quieter beauty. We won't see it in darkness, but the mountains loom as dark shapes against the sky. Salzburg appears ahead, one of Austria's most famous cities. We passed near it on our inbound journey, and now we approach it again from the opposite direction. The city sits in a dramatic mountain setting near the German border, its historic center a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Salzburg sits in a spectacular mountain setting that makes it one of Austria's most beautiful cities. The historic center occupies both banks of the Salzach River, with the massive Hohensalzburg fortress crowning the cliff above. The old town features remarkably preserved Baroque architecture from the city's prosperous 17th and 18th centuries. The city's name means Salt Castle, reflecting the commodity that built Salzburg's wealth. Salt mines in nearby mountains produced valuable salt for centuries, with the white gold traded throughout Europe. The archbishop princes who ruled Salzburg grew enormously wealthy from salt revenues, using that wealth to commission the Baroque buildings that define the city's appearance today. Salzburg's fame rests on multiple foundations. Mozart was born here in 1756, though he spent much of his later life elsewhere and had a complicated relationship with his hometown. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was born here in 1756 in a house on Getreidegasse that's now a popular museum. However, Mozart's relationship with his hometown was complicated. He left in 1781 after conflicts with the archbishop, spending his mature years in Vienna, where he died in 1791 at just 35. Despite Mozart spending relatively little of his adult life in Salzburg, the city has claimed him thoroughly. The Salzburg Festival, founded in 1920, has become one of the world's premier classical music events. Every summer, performances of opera, concerts, and plays draw audiences from around the globe. Mozart's music features prominently, though the festival's repertoire extends far beyond his works. The festival was established in difficult times, shortly after World War I, when Austria was struggling with the collapse of the Habsburg Empire. The founders envisioned Salzburg as a place where European culture could be celebrated and renewed. The festival succeeded beyond expectations, becoming an institution that brings enormous cultural prestige and economic benefits to Salzburg. The sound of music provides unexpected fame for Salzburg, particularly attracting English-speaking tourists. The 1965 film starring Julie Andrews was set in and around Salzburg, though it wasn't particularly successful in Austria and German-speaking countries. American and British tourists, however, love the film, and Sound of Music tours have become a significant tourist attraction despite their limited cultural relevance within Austria. Modern Salzburg balances its Baroque heritage with being a functioning city of 150,000 residents. The university brings younger demographics and intellectual life. The city serves as a regional center for Western Austria, providing services and employment. Tourism is economically crucial, but also creates challenges with overcrowding in the historic center and upward pressure on housing prices. The city struggles with the tension between preservation and development. The UNESCO World Heritage status protects the historic center, but also limits what can be changed or built. Housing demand from residents, students, and tourism workers creates pressure, but new construction in the old town is essentially impossible. The result is high costs and ongoing debates about how to balance various needs. We cross into Germany near Salzburg. The border is unmarked, simply a transition from Austrian to German motorway systems. Signage changes, road numbering shifts, but the Autobahn continues seamlessly. This is the Schengen area functioning as intended. Free movement across borders without delays or formalities. Bavaria, Germany's southernmost and largest state, extends before us. The region near Salzburg is deeply alpine with mountains and traditional Bavarian culture strong. As we head north, terrain becomes less dramatic but remains hilly and forested, distinctly different from the flat northern plains. The alpine region near the border is deeply traditional, with mountain villages, dairy farms, and tourism-based economies. Winter sports attract visitors to resorts like Garmisch-Partenkirchen and Berchtesgaden. Summer brings hikers and sightseers exploring mountain trails and scenic lakes. The Königssee, a pristine mountain lake in Berchtesgaden National Park, exemplifies the natural beauty that draws millions of visitors. Traditional Bavarian culture remains strong in these mountain regions. Folk costumes, lederhosen for men and dirndls for women, are worn not just for tourists, but for festivals and special occasions. Traditional music, distinctive architecture, with painted facades and carved balconies, and centuries-old customs persist alongside modern life. The German Alpine Road, a scenic tourist route, winds through this region showcasing mountain landscapes, traditional villages, and Baroque churches. The area exemplifies outsiders' image of Bavaria, with wooden chalets, onion-domed church towers, and alpine traditions. Yet even here, modernity intrudes with excellent infrastructure, telecommunications, and contemporary concerns about climate change affecting skiing conditions and alpine ecosystems. Munich lies to our north, Bavaria's capital and Germany's third largest city with 1.5 million residents. Munich is economically powerful, home to BMW, Siemens, Allianz, and other major companies. The city combines Bavarian traditions with modern industry and services, creating prosperity and distinctive character. BMW's headquarters in Munich includes not just corporate offices, but also production facilities and the BMW Museum, a striking modern building showcasing the company's history and products. Siemens, the massive technology conglomerate, employs tens of thousands in Munich and surrounding areas. Allianz, one of the world's largest insurance and financial services companies, is headquartered here. These companies anchor an economy that extends far beyond traditional industries. Munich's unemployment rate is typically among Germany's lowest. Wages are high, though so is the cost of living. The city attracts highly educated workers from across Germany and internationally, creating a cosmopolitan atmosphere. The city's universities, including the prestigious Ludwig Maximilian University and the Technical University of Munich, produce graduates who often stay to work for local companies. Oktoberfest makes Munich famous worldwide, though the actual festival is more complex than its stereotyped image of beer and lederhosen. The festival began in 1810 as a celebration of a royal wedding and has grown into a massive event attracting over 6 million visitors annually. It runs for about 2 weeks in late September and early October, consuming millions of liters of beer brewed specially for the occasion. But Munich is far more than Oktoberfest. The city is a major cultural center with world-class museums. The Alte Pinakothek houses one of Europe's finest collections of old masters. The Deutsches Museum is one of the world's largest science and technology museums. The residence, former palace of Bavarian monarchs, showcases centuries of artistic treasures. Opera and theater thrive, with multiple venues presenting world-class performances. The city's quality of life attracts residents despite high living costs. Parks and green spaces abound, including the enormous English Garden in the city center. The Alps are less than an hour away, providing easy access to mountain recreation. The Isar River flows through Munich, offering riverside paths for walking and cycling. This combination of urban amenities and natural access creates strong appeal. Our route bypasses Munich, following autobahns northwest through Bavaria toward central Germany. Traffic remains moderate, mostly freight at this hour. German autobahns make for efficient progress with excellent pavement, clear signage, and good lighting on many sections. The landscape gradually changes as we head north. The alpine character diminishes, replaced by gentler hills and extensive forests. Bavaria is diverse, encompassing everything from high mountains to rolling farmland, from medieval towns to modern industrial centers. Northern Bavaria differs significantly from the Alpine South. The terrain is less dramatic, consisting of rolling hills, river valleys, and extensive woodlands. The Franconian region in northern Bavaria has its own distinct identity, with different dialects, architectural styles, and cultural traditions from the stereotypically Bavarian South. Franconia is known for its wine production, quite different from Bavaria's beer culture. The main river valley produces excellent wines, particularly white wines from the Silvaner grape. The region's Baroque architecture, medieval towns like Bamberg and Rothenburg ob der Tauber, and distinctive half-timbered buildings create scenic landscapes that attract tourists seeking quieter, more authentic experiences than the alpine tourist zones. Agriculture remains important throughout Bavaria, despite the state's industrial strength. Dairy farming dominates much of the alpine and pre-alpine regions. Hop cultivation in the Hallertau region northeast of Munich supplies Germany's brewing industry. The area produces about a third of the world's hops. Grain farming, particularly wheat and barley, covers extensive areas of northern Bavaria. We're entering central Germany, leaving Bavaria and transitioning through Hesse. This region is less industrial than the Ruhr or southern Germany, characterized by smaller cities, extensive forests, and more rural character. The terrain is part of the central German uplands, hilly and wooded. Hesse is an interesting state, combining major urban centers like Frankfurt with extensive rural areas. The state's geography ranges from the Rhine Valley in the west to forested uplands in the east. The population of about 6 million is concentrated in urban areas, leaving much of the state surprisingly rural. The state capital is Wiesbaden, not Frankfurt, as many assume. Wiesbaden is a spa town with long history as a resort, quite different from Frankfurt's financial character. The division reflects Germany's federal system, where states maintain distinct identities and governance despite being part of a unified nation. Central Hesse features the Vogelsberg, an ancient volcanic region now covered in forests and farmland. The rolling landscape, small towns, and agricultural character create a different Germany from either the industrial Ruhr or the alpine south. Many villages retain half-timbered architecture and traditional character. Tourism less intrusive here than in more famous regions. Frankfurt lies somewhere to our west, though not on our direct route. Germany's financial capital and major transport hub, Frankfurt's position in Germany's geographic center makes it a natural crossroads. The city's airport is Europe's third busiest, and Frankfurt's financial district handles enormous volumes of transactions daily. The route continues through progressively more rural areas. Forest dominates large stretches, interspersed with agricultural land and small towns. This is Germany many visitors never see, away from major cities and industrial zones, where life proceeds at slower pace and traditional patterns persist. Central Germany's forests are extensive, covering about a third of the country's land area. These aren't wilderness, but managed forests, harvested sustainably for timber while providing recreational access and environmental benefits. Forestry is a significant industry in Germany, with wood used for construction, furniture, paper, and increasingly bioenergy. The forests also hold cultural importance in German identity. German Romanticism celebrated forests as places of mystery and beauty. Fairy tales set in dark woods shaped childhood imagination. Modern environmentalism values forests for biodiversity and climate regulation. This cultural and environmental appreciation coexists with economic forestry, generally maintaining reasonable balance. We transition into Lower Saxony, Germany's second largest state by area, stretching from the Dutch border toward Berlin. The state encompasses diverse landscapes from North Sea coast to central uplands. Lower Saxony is economically significant, but less densely populated than North Rhine-Westphalia or Bavaria, with economy based on agriculture, manufacturing, services, and increasingly renewable energy. Lower Saxony covers nearly 48,000 square kilometers, making it second only to Bavaria in size among German states. The population of about 8 million gives it a much lower population density than industrial states like North Rhine-Westphalia. This reflects the state's character: significant urban centers surrounded by extensive agricultural and forested areas. The North Sea coast in the northwest features distinctive landscapes. The Wadden Sea, a UNESCO World Heritage Tidal Flat ecosystem, the East Frisian Islands stretching along the coast, and coastal marshes reclaimed from the sea over centuries. The coastal region has its own culture and dialect, influenced by maritime traditions and proximity to the Netherlands. Hanover, Lower Saxony's capital, is a substantial city of about 500,000 people lying to our east. The city hosts major trade fairs and serves as regional center for services and manufacturing. Hanover was heavily damaged during World War II, but rebuilt into a modern, functional city that prioritizes livability. Hanover is particularly known for its trade fair grounds, among the world's largest. The Hanover Messe, an annual industrial trade fair, attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors from around the globe. CeBIT, formerly a major computer and technology fair, brought similar crowds until changing industry dynamics led to its discontinuation in 2018. The city's infrastructure, including its airport and railway connections, developed partly to serve these massive events. The city's reconstruction after World War II was pragmatic rather than romantic. Rather than attempting to recreate lost historic buildings, Hanover built a modern, efficient city. The result is functional, but less charming than cities that preserved or reconstructed historic centers. However, some historic buildings were restored, including the new town hall with its distinctive dome and the market church dating to the 14th century. The landscape becomes flatter as we continue north. The central German uplands give way to the North German Plain, a vast lowland stretching from the Netherlands across Germany into Poland. The terrain is gentle, with agriculture dominating where forests don't cover the land. This geological transition is gradual but noticeable. The hills diminish, rivers flow more slowly across flatter terrain, and the landscape opens up. The North German Plain was formed by glaciers during the Ice Age, which deposited sediments, creating fertile, but sometimes heavy soils. Drainage has been a challenge in some areas, with extensive networks of ditches and canals managing water. Lower Saxony produces significant agricultural output despite its moderate climate and sometimes marginal soils. Dairy farming is important in coastal and in northern areas. Grain cultivation dominates better soils. Pork production is substantial, with Lower Saxony among Germany's leading states for pig farming. Sugar beets grown for sugar production cover considerable acreage. The state's economy extends beyond agriculture. Volkswagen's headquarters in Wolfsburg makes the company a major employer. Wolfsburg essentially exists because of Volkswagen. The city was founded in 1938 specifically to house workers for the Volkswagen factory, originally intended to produce the KDF wagon, which became the Beetle after World War II. Today, Wolfsburg has about 125,000 residents, many directly or indirectly employed by VW. The Volkswagen plant in Wolfsburg is one of the world's largest automotive manufacturing complexes. At its peak, the facility employed over 60,000 workers. Today, the number is lower due to automation, but VW remains the dominant employer. The company has diversified its production, building various models and investing heavily in electric vehicle technology as the automotive industry transforms. The city's fortunes are closely tied to Volkswagen's success. When the company thrives, Wolfsburg prospers. When VW faces challenges, like the diesel emissions scandal that erupted in 2015, the city feels the impact. This economic concentration creates both benefits and vulnerabilities. The port of Bremen handles significant cargo. Hanover hosts trade fairs and serves as regional center. Energy companies, including offshore wind power developers, are increasingly important. The economy is diversified, providing resilience against sector-specific downturns. Bremen, though not in Lower Saxony, but its own city-state, is economically important to the region. The port handles containers, automobiles, and various bulk cargoes. Mercedes-Benz produces vehicles in Bremen. Aerospace companies, including Airbus, have facilities producing components for commercial aircraft. The city's maritime and industrial heritage continues shaping its economy. Wind energy has become increasingly important for Lower Saxony's economy. The state has significant onshore wind capacity, with thousands of turbines across agricultural areas. Offshore wind farms in the North Sea, visible from the coast on clear days, generate substantial electricity. Companies involved in manufacturing turbines, planning projects, and maintaining installations have created thousands of jobs. The renewable energy sector represents economic diversification and response to climate change. Germany's Energiewende, or energy transition, aims to shift from nuclear and fossil fuels to renewable sources. Lower Saxony, with its wind resources and available land, plays a significant role in this transformation. Our destination, Osnabruck, lies ahead to the northwest, near the border with North Rhine-Westphalia. The city sits in an area transitioning from central German uplands to northern plains at about 60 meters elevation. The landscape is gently rolling rather than dramatically hilly. Osnabruck has history stretching to Roman times when it was a settlement on trade routes connecting the Rhine with northern regions. The city grew during medieval period as a trading center and member of the Hanseatic League, the powerful confederation of merchant cities that dominated Baltic and North Sea commerce. The city's origins trace to Charlemagne's establishment of a bishopric here around 780 AD. The location at the crossing of important trade routes, north-south, between the Rhineland and Scandinavia, east-west, between the Netherlands and Central Europe, made Osnabruck naturally important for commerce. During the Middle Ages, Osnabruck developed as both an ecclesiastical center under its prince-bishop and a trading city. This dual character created tensions, but also prosperity. The bishops wielded political power while merchants generated wealth through trade. The balance between religious authority and commercial interests shaped the city's development. The Hanseatic League was one of medieval Europe's most important economic organizations. Merchant cities from the Baltic to the North Sea joined together for mutual protection and trade advantages. The League negotiated treaties, maintained trading posts abroad, and even waged wars to protect its commercial interests. Osnabruck's membership brought prosperity through access to this vast trading network. The Hanseatic League at its height included nearly 200 cities, though the core membership was smaller. Lübeck served as the League's de facto capital. The organization had trading posts, called contours, in major foreign cities, including London, Bergen, Novgorod, and Bruges. These permanent establishments allowed Hanseatic merchants to trade more effectively, storing goods, negotiating deals, and maintaining relationships with local authorities. The League traded diverse goods, timber, furs, and grain from the Baltic, cloth from Flanders in England, wine from the Rhineland, dried fish from Norway, salt from Lüneburg, amber from Prussia. Osnabruck's position on inland trade routes made it a transshipment point where goods moved between different regional networks. Hanseatic merchants developed sophisticated trading practices. They used bills of exchange, allowing money to be transferred without physically moving coins. They established standard weights and measures to facilitate trade. They shared information about markets, prices, and conditions, creating informational advantages over competitors. These practices helped lay foundations for modern commercial and financial systems. The League's power declined from the 16th century onward as nation-states grew stronger. New trade routes to the Americas shifted commercial patterns, and internal conflicts weakened the organization. The last Hanseatic Assembly met in 1669, though some cities maintained Hanseatic traditions and privileges into the 19th century. Today, several cities, including Lübeck, Bremen, and Hamburg, still call themselves Hanseatic cities, maintaining pride in that heritage. The city's most significant historical moment came in 1648, when it co-hosted negotiations for the Peace of Westphalia alongside Münster. These treaties ended the 30 Years' War, one of Europe's most destructive conflicts, which killed millions and devastated large regions. The war began in 1618 as a religious conflict within the Holy Roman Empire, but expanded to involve most major European powers. The peace negotiations were complex, involving dozens of states and territories with conflicting interests. The negotiations took years, with envoys shuttling between Osnabruck and Münster about 50 kilometers apart. The treaties finally signed in 1648 established principles that shaped European international relations for centuries: the sovereignty of states, religious tolerance, and diplomatic negotiations to resolve conflicts. The Peace of Westphalia is considered a foundational moment in the development of the modern international system. The concept that sovereign states are equal and have authority within their own territories, free from external interference, became a cornerstone of international law. The treaties also recognized religious plurality, allowing states to choose their official religion and granting some protections to religious minorities. Modern Osnabruck honors this heritage while functioning as a contemporary city. The population of about 165,000 makes it sizable but not overwhelming. The university, founded in 1974, brings academic life and younger demographics. The city serves as regional shopping and services center for surrounding communities. The University of Osnabruck, though relatively young, has developed strong programs, particularly in social sciences, cognitive science, and teacher education. The student population of about 14,000 brings vitality and helps diversify the city's economy beyond traditional manufacturing and services. The economy is diverse, without overwhelming dominance by any single sector. Automotive components for various manufacturers provide significant employment. Steel processing plants continue operations dating to industrial era. Paper production reflects the region's forests. Services including education, healthcare, and retail employ many residents. The mix creates economic stability. Several companies in the automotive supply chain operate in Osnabruck, producing components that go into vehicles assembled elsewhere. This pattern is typical of modern automotive production. Few vehicles are built entirely in one location. Instead, components come from suppliers across regions and countries, assembled at final production facilities. Osnabruck participates in these complex supply networks. The Georgs Marienhütte steel mill, located in a suburb of Osnabruck, has operated for over 150 years. The facility produces special steel products for various applications. Like many traditional industrial operations, it has adapted to changing markets and technologies while maintaining its core business. Paper production utilizes the region's forestry resources. Several paper mills process wood pulp into various paper products. The industry has faced challenges from digitalization, reducing demand for some paper types, but packaging and specialty papers continue supporting employment. The historic city center features medieval and Renaissance architecture that survived wartime damage. The cathedral dates to the 13th century, rebuilt after earlier structures on the same site. The City Hall, or Rathaus, housed the Peace of Westphalia negotiations in 1648, making it historically significant beyond its architectural merits. The building is late Gothic in style, constructed in the late 14th and early 15th centuries. The Peace Hall where negotiations occurred has been preserved and is now used for ceremonial purposes. The city takes pride in its peace heritage, hosting conferences and events related to peace and conflict resolution. Osnabruck suffered damage during World War II, but not to the extent of some German cities. Much of the old town survived, allowing for restoration rather than complete reconstruction. The result is a city center that maintains historical character while incorporating modern amenities and infrastructure. The city's position near the North Rhine-Westphalia border and proximity to the Netherlands makes Osnabruck something of a crossroads, though on smaller scale than major transport hubs. The A1 Autobahn passes through the city, connecting it to the broader German and European road network. As we navigate into Osnabruck following delivery signs, the journey from Vienna is complete. Over 1,000 kilometers through Austria and Germany, carrying packaged motor oil to distribution in northwestern Germany. The load will be unloaded, individual pallets sorted, and product distributed to retail stores, workshops, and industrial customers across the region. The delivery location is likely a logistics center on Osnabruck's outskirts, designed for efficient truck access and cargo handling. These facilities typically feature multiple loading docks, warehouse space for temporary storage, and offices for administration. The motor oil will be checked in, sorted by destination, and prepared for onward distribution. Modern logistics centers are sophisticated operations. Computerized warehouse management systems track every pallet, optimizing storage locations and picking routes. Automated systems might handle some materials movement, though much still requires human workers operating forklifts and other equipment. The efficiency of these operations is crucial for keeping costs down in competitive markets. Unloading uses forklifts or pallet jacks to remove the pallets from our trailer. Each pallet is scanned, its contents verified against shipping documents, and moved to appropriate storage areas. The distribution center likely serves a large territory, with deliveries going out daily to customers throughout northwestern Germany. The motor oil we delivered will fan out across the region in smaller trucks, making local deliveries. Individual retail stores might receive a few pallets. Auto parts chains with multiple locations will receive larger quantities for distribution to their stores. Workshops and quick lube operations order regularly based on their usage. Industrial customers with fleet vehicles might take drums or bulk containers. The complex distribution network ensures products reach end users efficiently. Looking back on tonight's ambitious double haul, we've accomplished something substantial. Over 2,800 kilometers through 5 countries from Liverpool to Dover, across the Channel to Calais, through northern France and Belgium to Germany, through western Germany to Austria and Vienna, then northwest back through Bavaria and central Germany to Lower Saxony and Osnabruck. The journey showcases the complexity and efficiency of modern European freight. Multiple countries crossed seamlessly thanks to European integration. Different road systems navigated successfully. 2 completely different cargoes delivered to their destinations. The work appears routine, but it requires skill, experience, and reliable equipment. 2 very different loads told different stories about modern freight. The rough terrain forklifts represented specialized equipment moving to where it's needed. Construction machinery built in one place and used in another. The international nature of equipment markets. Packaged motor oil demonstrated distribution networks, how refined products become consumer goods, the complexity of getting products from production to end users. Each load required different handling, different securing methods, different delivery procedures. The forklifts were heavy, awkward items requiring careful loading and unloading. The motor oil pallets were standardized, easily handled with forklifts, but required attention to prevent shifting during transit. Adapting to different cargo types is part of professional trucking. The Scania R500 has performed flawlessly throughout these long routes. The engine's 500 horsepower pulled our loads up every grade we encountered. The OptiCruise transmission shifted tens of thousands of times without issue. Brakes and retarder controlled speed on descents. The day cab remained comfortable despite long hours. Professional equipment doing professional work reliably, which is exactly what it's designed for. Modern trucks are sophisticated machines. Electronic systems monitor performance, optimize fuel consumption, and alert drivers to potential problems. The reliability we experienced tonight reflects decades of engineering refinement. Trucks that break down cost money and delay deliveries. Manufacturers like Scania invest heavily in reliability because their customers demand it. This is the reality of modern European freight transport. Complex international routing, varied cargo with different handling requirements, strict schedules demanding efficiency, multiple regulatory jurisdictions, and constant pressure to maintain profitability in competitive markets. The trucks keep moving, drivers keep driving, goods keep flowing. Without this endless circulation of materials and products, modern economic life would collapse. Everything we use arrives by truck at some point. The food in supermarkets, the clothes in stores, the materials building our homes, the fuel in our vehicles, all moved by freight transport. The system is so effective, we rarely think about it, noticing only when disruptions occur. Tonight's journey is one of millions happening constantly across Europe's roads. Tomorrow will bring new loads, new routes, new challenges. The cycle continues day after day, connecting economies, delivering goods, keeping Europe moving. And we'll be ready for whatever comes next. As we complete the unloading in Osnabruck, our double journey across the continent comes to an end. The forklifts delivered to Vienna will work for years on construction sites, moving materials and enabling projects. The motor oil now sits in Osnabruck's distribution center, ready to flow out to customers throughout northwestern Germany, lubricating engines and keeping vehicles operating. 2 different cargoes, 2 different routes, but the same fundamental purpose: moving goods where they're needed, connecting supply with demand, enabling economic activity across Europe. This is what freight transport does, day after day, journey after journey. The Scania has brought us safely across 5 countries and 2,800 kilometers. It will be refueled, checked over, and prepared for its next assignment. The trailer returns to the fleet for another load. The cycle continues without pause. Tomorrow brings new destinations, different cargo, fresh challenges, but the work remains the same. Professional transport, delivered efficiently and reliably. The trucks keep rolling, the goods keep moving, and Europe's economy keeps functioning. Thank you for joining us on these long routes tonight. Safe travels.